So, storytelling. Now, every good story has the same 7 elements. Whether it is Disney telling the story, or Marvel telling the story, or you're reading your favorite novel, you're watching your favorite Netflix TV show, or you're posting a Facebook post, they all should have the same 7 elements. And a lot of people get the first 5, and most people miss the last 2. And what they are number one, your hook. So that thing that draws people in, that gets them to come to you. Like, I think it was the fairy tale people that started it all with Once Upon a Time, or it was A Dark and Stormy Night. Like, those are the original old school hooks, right? And now we have things like, I wasn't supposed to be in that room, or I don't know. There's other good ones. We'll talk about them later when I give some other examples. But those things that are gonna get people to stop and pay attention. Whether it's written as your first line, whether it's spoken, sometimes it's even visual when you see somebody like popping up like this, or walking through the screen if you're doing a reel. There's lots of different ways to do those kind of hooks. But that is number one. Number 2 are characters. You can't have a story without a good character, right? You've got your hero, you've got your princesses and your princes, your Shreks, your ogres, and then you have your villains, your Ursulas. Those are always my favorite. I think the villains are the best part of any story. Then you have your sidekicks, the donkey from Shrek, as an example. Those ones that help bring the comic relief. And then, you got your outside players, the fun cameos that are in the movies that you notice. But you need those guys to keep the story going. And speaking of keeping the story going, you've got your plot, the actual storyline that takes you from A to Z. That is called the plot. And I like to use the example of a Hallmark Christmas movie. I'm sure you've all seen one of those, but they all follow the exact same plot. And my mom and I watch them every single year. We watch like all the Hallmark movies, and we joke because they all have the same thing. And so we joke that we know the endings, and we kind of keep track of how many cookie making competitions or ice skating things are in there. But they all start with like corporate woman. I know, Carissa, but I love them, but they're all the same. Corporate woman in New York City, there's some problem back at home. She has to go home to her family in small town USA, and when she's there, she runs into her ex-boyfriend or some, hot small town man from small town USA, and she doesn't really like him at first, but then there's some challenge in the small town USA, and they're thrown together, and they end up really liking each other, and they get really close. And then all of a sudden there's a misdirection, something goes wrong, and there's a misunderstanding, and they end up, she goes back to the big city, or is gonna go back to the New York City, and then reconciliation. They decide, oh, it was all just a big misunderstanding. Now, happily ever after, we're in love, they get married, just like in real life. But that is the story. That's the plot. That's the same thing. Same thing with Disney, right? Once upon a time, prince, princess, in the end, happily ever after. So every good story needs to have beginning, middle, end. Your hook, your whatever, and then your ending. They also have conflict. So that can be like in that Hallmark movie, that misunderstanding. You don't know, is the prince gonna marry the princess? Is she gonna go back to New York and not get with him? Like, that's the conflict piece. Or in the case of like our product stories, is the product gonna work? I don't know. Will it? That could be conflict here. So think about that when you're thinking about your own stories. What is the conflict? Or it could be the conflict in the beginning of your story. Why? What was going on in the beginning of it that didn't work? What was the conflict that drove you to find the product that ultimately worked for you? And then the last of the original 5 is transformation, the happily ever after. How did you change on this full journey in your story to get where you are? Then those are the pieces that most people get right and don't miss when they're consciously telling a story. Now, the pieces that they tend to miss are emotion. You've got to make them feel something when you tell a story. So, like in any Disney movie or Pixar movie, and I'm sorry, moms, but they always kill off the mom in the beginning. They always do. Or like in Up, they killed the wife. But they do that because it gets you right here. It makes you feel. You're crying from 5 minutes in, and it connects you right there in the beginning with the main character. You feel for them, you're there for them, you want to believe in them because they've hooked you. They made you feel. And then all along the way, they continue to give you little pieces and little things to make you feel and connect with that main character. And that there are three like main emotions that we talk about in marketing, that if you can make them feel in these three places, and it's the heart. If you can pull on those heartstrings and make them feel there, you've got them. So that's one way. The second way is make them feel in the gut. And so that is like make them feel angry. You make them because somebody's being mistreated or there's a misjustice or something. So that anger, that gut reaction, or they're fearful, they're afraid of FOMO, like whatever. When you have a gut reaction to something, that's making them feel in the gut. So that's the second one. So heartstrings, the gut, and then the last one is feeling the purse strings. So if you can make them feel like they're going to miss out on money or feel like they're going to make some money, that's the third. So those are like the three big emotions within marketing that we tend to go after. So keep that in the back of your head. And then the last piece of the 7 elements that almost everyone forgets when they tell stories are the specifics. So I like to think of this as you're the cinematographer. You've got to paint that picture so that someone feels like they're in the room with you. It's not just I'm sitting in a chair. It's I'm sitting in an office chair that spins with 2 arms that I can move back and forth, and it's blue and it has a back, that back thing that sticks into the curve of my back so that I actually sit up straight, and it has a footrest as well. It's all of those details so that you are in it with me, so that your ideal client can see themselves in your story. So I'll repeat those 7. It is the hook, the characters, the plot, the conflict, the transformation, make them feel something, and give them the specifics. Okay? Those are the 7 key elements that you need to every single story. So how does this then apply to us, Tracy? Like, that's probably what you're thinking, right? I'm just here talking about moringa. But you can apply this to moringa. I'm going to show you. I'm going to do it a wrong way and a right way. And I'm going to do it the wrong way first, which is really hard for me because I love to tell stories. But here's how it goes. So, and this is, I see this a lot across the board, not just at lab, but across the board from social sellers in general. But it might go something like this. My favorite drink is moringa. It is made from the most nutrient-dense plant in the planet. It tastes so good. I drink it every day. It has 92 vitamins in it, has all of the essential vitamins, it has all the amino acids, and when I take it, I feel so good. It makes me less bloated. It makes me stop my cravings. I don't want sugar anymore. All I want to do is drink water. I have so much energy, and I think everybody needs to drink it. So there's nothing technically wrong with that, right? All the information is correct. You're giving all the right information. You're probably even saying things that your ideal client needs, right? They need to change their cravings. They need more energy. They want something that tastes good. But there is none of those elements from the storytelling experience in there. There's no character. There's no hook. There was no specifics. Nothing, right? So then how do we put all of that into a story? Here's maybe what I would do. And I'm going to do it from my own personal experience. But what I want to say is if you don't have the personal experience, you don't need it. You can go into the info group, look at somebody else's stories in there, and tell their story. You can tell it from the third person. You know, you could tell my story right now in your content and say, Tracy, blah, blah, blah. So know that you don't need your own experience. You can tell it from a third person. So, and I'm going to make this up off the top of my head, so I might go long and I might not get it 100% right, just to throw that out there, but let's see what comes out of my mouth. All right, so maybe it would be something like, should I get the blonde wig or the purple wig? That's what I was thinking, sitting on the floor, as I had exhausted every option with my hair. Because after years and years and years of my hair being the one thing that defined me, it had been falling out. There was literally a spot in the back that I couldn't hide anymore. Like, I tried to put a ponytail in, but even the little kid's ponytail holder wouldn't hold my ponytail anymore. It kept sliding out. So I went to see my dermatologist, and the look on her face told me everything. She said, I know you tried the pharmaceutical, we tried the biotin, we tried this, we tried that, we tried the shampoo. Literally thousands of dollars spent trying things, and nothing worked. The last option was transplant. And she looked at me, Dr. Lou looked at me and said, Tracy, it's going to be tens of thousands of dollars, and I can't guarantee it's going to work. And that was it. That's when I went home and I started scrolling through Amazon, looking at wigs. And as I was sitting there scrolling, I noticed over in the corner my friend Susie. Now Susie, she is like the most fun, the person with like the highest integrity, so honest, so bubbly that you could ever imagine. And so when I saw her like drinking this green drink and I saw something about hair, I had to stop. I shut down Amazon and I went over just to see what she had to say. Like, it didn't have a lot of hope, but I had to check it out. And there she was. She's, again, drinking this green drink and talking about how she had had hair problems since she had gotten older, maybe hormones or something, and this was the only thing that worked for her. Now, I didn't have a lot of hope. I'm a skeptic. Clearly, I've tried everything from infomercials to pharmaceuticals, and nothing worked. But I decided, why not? If it worked for Susie, I believe her. I'm going to give it a shot. So I reached out to Susie. She talked me through, and she said, why not? Give it a shot. It might take 90 days, 6 months, especially with hair. You're not going to see something right away. What's the harm? So that's what I decided. So I'm going to give it a shot. I'm going to try. I ordered it, and I was very consistent, like she said I needed to be. She also said I might notice a couple of other things in the process. And at about 6 weeks in, I opened up my Diet Coke can, and I'm a Diet Coke fiend. Like, that was my lifeblood every single day. Like, 6-pack a day was my Diet Coke. And I opened that up, the fizz, like sparkling in your face. Took my first sip and spit it all out. It tasted horrible. And I texted her right away and I said, Susie, my Diet Coke tastes horrible. What's going on? And she laughed at me. She said, Tracy, that's some moringa. It's going to make things taste bad that you don't want, that you don't need. You probably just want water or just the moringa. I didn't believe her. I tried it again. Diet Coke still tastes horrible. Fast forward 2.5 years later, I still haven't had a Diet Coke. Can't stand it. Anyhow. That was 6 weeks in. A few more months in, I went to go get my hair cut. And as the hairdresser was cutting my hair, she's like, Trace, there's all these baby hairs here. I don't know how you want me to cut my hair. And I about leaped out of my chair and said, what do you mean, baby hairs? She goes, no, there's like baby hairs. It's kind of messing up the haircut. I don't know what to do. I have never been so happy in my life to hear like the words baby hairs. Because baby hairs means growth. That meant the moringa was working. So I had her finish the haircut, and I immediately went home and I made an appointment with my dermatologist. I went to the derm, saw Dr. Lou. Her jaw hit the floor because the moringa was working. Again, fast forward to today, and all of that is gone. My hair, I can't keep up with. I got these roots that I can't keep up with the color because the moringa is doing its job when nothing else would work. And there's still work to be done. I'm not 100% there, but I'm so glad that I gave Susie that chance, that I listened to her and took a chance on the moringa. Now, I know that was really long because, again, I hadn't thought anything through, and that would need to be cut a bit, but it had, I think, every element to the story. I had a hook with, should I get a blonde wig or a purple wig? I think that was a good hook. It had a plot, a beginning to end. It had characters. You had Susie, you had my derm, there was me, you had the hair cutter. It had conflict. We didn't know if it was going to work or not. You had the conflict of me in the beginning, like desperate. You had emotion because of my sadness. I had a lot of specifics in there. I went into a lot of detail about that. Diet Coke. I do miss Diet Coke. I wish it tasted good. McDonald's had the best Diet Coke. Anyway, I digress. What else? What else of the 7? I dropped my notes. Character, plot, conflict. Oh, and transformation. So where I am today. So that is an example of how you can tell a product story with your own experience. And again, you could flip that with telling it in the third person as my friend Tracy, and probably shortening it a bit because that was kind of long, especially if you're writing it out. But hopefully that gives you a little bit of a view of how you put these 7 elements into a formula to tell a story that's going to get people to pay attention, that shows them how the product works, how it's going to help them, the transformation they can also get from our products without just listing a bunch of features and a bunch of benefits. For your homework, what I want you to do is to think about what are those 1 or 2 products that you're going to focus on this month. And I really mean 1 or 2 products. You're going to be much better off focusing down rather than trying to do the whole gamut. Pick 1 or 2 products. Think about then what are the things that those 1 or 2 products do. Like, what are the benefits that they have that you've personally seen or that you know that they can do for your ideal client? What does your ideal client want and what the products can do? So where does that match up? So if my ideal client is like me and needs help with hair, that's an example. Maybe my ideal client really wants to look 20 years younger. That would be collagen, right? So think about that product and brainstorm as many things that you can think about that the product can offer, that our products can do. And then go tell a story about it. That's it. So any questions that you have, throw them there in the comments. I'll make sure to come back after this and answer. But that's the power of storytelling. You will get many more eyeballs, much more engagement when you start to do your content in this way rather than just focusing on features and benefits. I can promise you that. So thank you again. Thank you for coming to day 1 of the Lab Olympics. Looking forward to tomorrow, day 2. I forget what day 2 is. I'm sorry, I don't have that up with me, but it will be amazing. I can promise you that. And that is all I've got for you guys tonight. So thank you so much. Let's go Lab team. Let's go for gold. Thanks, everybody.